to Sew with Monty. This is grading the pattern part 2, and this time we're going to create the smaller size from a small. We're going to go to an extra small instead of in the part 1 where we went up in size and made a medium. And this is a little bit different. What I've done the same thing. I've got my home line and my registration line, and I'm using the same grade strategy that I did on the medium. And this time though, I'm going to make it smaller instead of larger. And I'm going to start by marking my home point right here. And I'm going to make the neck narrower by 1/8 and shorter by 1/8. I'm going to start up here and work the opposite way. So I'm going to come over 1/8 at the top here, and I'm going to draw my line in, making sure it's parallel to my registration line. And I'm going to slide it over 1/8. Now that took care of this part. Now I want to do this part. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go for my home line, and I'm going to lower it 1/8 again. Just marking on the outside of my pattern on my paper. I don't want to make my marks through my pattern. And I slide it down here. Now once I have that, that means I've got my 1/8. I can mark my high point shoulder. Now I want to reduce this shoulder by 1/4. So I'm going to come in the front and I'm going to draw a 1/4 line away from the edge of my pattern, and I'm going to slide it over an additional 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go all the way over to here, staying on the lower line, and I'm going to mark this corner. Now this armhole is going to get smaller 1/4 here and smaller 1/8 here. So I want to make my line on the top here 1/4 inch away, because I'm going to slide it up so that I reduce the size of this armhole. And I want to shrink it again another 1/8 here, so I'm going to draw an additional 1/8 of a line here. So this move is going to be up 1/4. Oops, I made that in the wrong place. Let's go up 1/4 right here. So you have to be careful when you draw your lines in that you get them in the right place. So I'm going to slide up 1/4 to reduce this size. See, I'm making it shorter. It's kind of backwards after you've done the larger ones. And I want to reduce this, so I've got it up 1/4. So I want to come in this way, like this, and draw that in. So now my armhole will be narrower and shorter here. Now, from this point, I want to reduce this side seam 1/2 inch. So I'm going to draw 1/2 inch away from the line I'm at right now. And I'm going to slide this up, staying on the line I'm on, 1/2 inch. Just like this, and I want to draw this corner in. Now this one is 1/2 inch smaller in distance, but it's on the same line. So I'm going to come over here and make sure that my registration line is 1/2 inch away, because I'm 1/2 inch out right now. So I'm going to slide it back to my registration line and keep it on that top line here, and that's going to give me this corner. Now while I'm here, I want to look to see if I go back down. See, I'm 1/2 inch smaller right there, shorter in this front than I was here, actually 5/8 shorter right there. So let's look at what we've got. So I've got my smaller neckline, which is right here. I've got my smaller shoulder, which is right here. Smaller armhole, just checking everything to make sure that I'm smaller the amount I need to be. 1/2 inch smaller here, and 1/2 inch smaller in width here, and my overall length in the front is at 5/8 inch shorter. So you need to check that out. This is a little different on the small than it is on the larger, where you can see all the lines and they're apparent. Now they're all buried underneath my pattern. So I want to come back once I know that I've done everything correctly, and I want to move my curve so I'm 1/8 inch larger on my pattern than my drawing. I want to make sure I'm 1/8 inch on each side here, larger than my shoulder. And then I want to make sure my armhole is 1/8 inch larger here and 1/4 at the top, so that I can blend in my armhole. And you just come along and you do the exact opposite of what you did when you were doing the larger size. Again, you really should do all the small sizes at one time and all the largers at one time, because it's very confusing to your brain if you don't do that. See, and that's my small front. So this is my small front. Let me set up and I'll show you how to do the back, and then we'll do the sleeve. I wanted to go over this before we do the back, and this is called nesting. So once you have a size larger and a size smaller on your original pattern, it's a good idea to do a nesting. And how you do this is you stack them on top of each other with your home point together. And then I've got my center front line together. And then what I'm looking for is that each line is separated by the same amount. And also that my corners, if I could draw a line from each corner, it would be a straight line. So I check all my corners like this to make sure that I can draw a straight line. Even my notches, I want to be able to draw through the tips of my notches and create a straight line. If anything looks out, then you need to go back and readdress what might have went wrong. Sometimes it takes just a simple little trim. Might be just the thickness of your pen or pencil that you used. But you want to check all of these sections to make sure that you have the same amount in each one. And this looks like a pretty good nesting right here. All my lines are on top of each other, so I feel like I can carry on. Why is it important to nest? Because let's say you did 10 sizes on this, and you were off on the second size that you did. Everything from that point on is going to be off. So if you nested after that, you realize that you went astray here. All the other sizes of beyond that, the other 7 sizes, are going to be off as well. So then you've got to go back and fix a huge mistake. If you nest about every 3rd size, just to make sure you're on target, it's going to save you a lot of work, because it might be as simple as just trimming down a side seam a little bit. But if you keep going, it's just going to get worse and worse as you go up in size. So this is called nesting, and this is what it looks like. And make sure you do it intermittently during your grading process. So now we're ready to grade the extra small for the back torso. And I've drawn in my home line. I've traced off my home point, and I've got my registration line in here. All my grade strategy is written out just like it was on the medium, using the same strategy, only this time I'm shrinking it instead of expanding it. My first move, I've got my home point, is I'm going to shorten the back, this entire back, by 3/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to use my home line, and I'm going to draw the line here, because I'm going to move it up 3/4 of an inch so that I can shorten it. So I'll draw my line here on each side of my pattern, and then I'm going to slide my pattern up 3/4 of an inch, keeping it booked to the registration line, and I'm going to trace off this corner. Now I need to shrink it a 1/2 inch in width, so I'm going to make another line a 1/2 inch over from my back, center back registration line, and I'm going to slide it over so that I can get this corner, because I want to reduce it by a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to slide it over, keeping it lined up, nice and square, and then I'm going to trace off this corner. So now I have it shorter and narrower here. Now my next corner is right here. So I want to bring it back down. Let's see, a 1/2 inch here. So I'm going to make a line 1/2 inch over so that I reduce this side. See, so I'm a 1/2 inch shorter than I was, and I'm going to draw in this little corner right here. So it gets kind of confusing. I want to make this narrower by 1/8 of an inch and this shorter by 1/4 right here. So let's go ahead and make it narrower by 1/8 of an inch, and to do that I'm going to come back in off this line, and I'm going to draw a line 1/8 of an inch over. I find that making it smaller is a little more difficult than making it larger, because I can't see what's going on under my pattern, and makes you a little bit apprehensive. So I'm a 1/2 inch down, which puts me on this line right here, and I want to be 1/8 of an inch over so that I can get this area right in here. So I want to draw up here. I've already drawn the corner in. I just want to draw it like that, and then I'm going to make this a 1/4 inch shorter. So I've got a 1/4 drawn here. I'm just going to bring it down a 1/4 inch right here, and I'm going to draw in this corner like that. Now I want this one to be a 1/4 inch narrower. So I'm going to do another line here, a 1/4 inch over, like this. And I'm going to take this corner, put it back on that corner, that's where I left off, and I want to slide it over 1/4 inch, just like that. And I'm going to draw this corner in. Now my last move is I've got to make my neck 1/8 of an inch narrower. And when I do that, as you can see, I'm right back at home point. So that tells me that my grade was done accurately. That getting back to home point is a good sign that you've done the right thing. So now it's time to blend off all my curves. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to blend off my neck just like that. I'm going to blend off my shoulder. Now remember, this is smaller, so it's 1/8 of an inch in on each side instead of 1/8 of an inch out. The armhole is 1/8 of an inch shorter and 1/8 of an inch narrower and a 1/4 inch shorter. So that's how I'm going to find my notch here. And then I'm going to split the difference on my side seam, 1/4 and 1/4, to find my waist suppression, and I'm going to draw it in. Again, it's a little more challenging on the smaller sizes because you can't really see the lines like you can on the larger size. They're buried under your pattern, so you have to have a little faith. But there we have it. That's the back extra small. So now I have the front and back extra small. Now we're going to do the sleeve. So this is my t-shirt. So let me get set up and we'll do the sleeve for the extra small, and I'll show you how to reduce its size. And we'll have extra small in this part 2 of grading. So now we're going to grade an extra small sleeve, and we're going to take it down to a smaller size. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw in my home point, which will be this lower wrist line on the back of the sleeve. This is my home line and this is my grain line. Remember, the sleeve gets booked to the grain line because there's no outside straight edge that you can book to. So the first thing I want to do is I want to reduce the size of this. So I'm going to reduce the width by 1/4 inch. So I'm going to come along right here. Now I'm working with my grain line this time, so I don't have an outside line. But I'm going to come over 1/4 inch. So I'm going to balance this. Now mind you, when you're doing this grading, there's a multitude of ways you can move the pattern. Do what feels comfortable to you. If it's easier for you to do the cap top and then do this, you have to feel it out and see what you're doing. When you're rusty at doing this, or when you begin doing it, anticipate that you might do it a couple of times before you get it right. That's okay, because that's how you find out what makes sense to you and what's the easiest way for you to do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is narrow this cuff. I'm going to go this way, up and around. So here we go. I'm going to narrow the cuff by moving this over 1/4 inch at the top and the bottom and keeping my pattern on my home line. So once I get this and I make sure I stay on my home line, then I'm going to draw in this corner. Now my next move is I'm going to shorten the sleeve from here to here, and I'm going to shorten it 1/2 inch. So I'm going to make a mark right here so that I can slide it down 1/2 inch right here. And I'm going to stay on this inside line where I'm at right now, but I'm just going to slide it down, staying marked to the 1/4 inch over line. And when I get there, I'm going to mark this corner right here. Now I'm not going to grade this yet. I'm going to grade from here down and then come back. That's how it's easier for me. So to get this point, I'm going to slide it back over to the grain line and keep it on the 1/2 inch down line. And once I have that, I'm going to mark in this point right here. Now I'm going to take this point up to here, and I'm going to come back and do the same over here. I should have done it when I had it here, but that's okay. I can still do it. And I'm going to take these 2 points up to right here. Now I need to lower this. So I'm going to come back in here, and at my home line I'm going to come down another 1/4 inch. See, everything's done here. It's tempting sometimes to do it out where you're at, but it's better to do everything right here. Now I'm going to slide it down, and I need to make my mark just a little bit longer here. Make these 2 marks a little bit longer, and then I'll reposition. Sometimes they happen to get a little bit short on you as you're working. Now, so I'm going to put this corner right back where it was and make sure I'm on the line I need to be on, which is the outside line here. Now, to get this piece right here, I'm going to slide it down a quarter and center it between the 1/4 inch gap here. So I'm going to go 1/8 over and 1/8 over and be down here on this line. This is going to give me the top of my sleeve cap. Now the rest of this gets blended in. I'm just going to come in here and try to find the curve that best blends the sleeve cap off. So I just want to go in here and find that curve that best blends this off. And sometimes it'll be a little bit of a notch distance on both sides, just like that. And now I can get the rest of this in. So I'm going to come back in here, I'm going to take this side and I'm going to blend it off using my pattern as my template. And now I have my extra small sleeve. So I have a graded set of extra small, my small, which was my sample size, and a medium. And I have an entire 3 sizes done and graded for my t-shirt pattern. So if you enjoyed that, please click the like button below the video, and make sure to subscribe to my channel, Sew with Monty, so that you can see other videos that I've made. If you click the bell next to the subscribe button, it will give you a notice when new videos are posted to Sew with Monty. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.